Jim Feig, your master photographer, back with you from South Bridge Street Live. I've got my beautiful Packard automobile back again. This is the version with the red wheels. And as I say, Richard Korchinski at Korchinski's Photos can produce you something like this. Take it over to him. He'll fix you up. He'll do a nice job for you. Now, what I want to talk about today is what's important in life anyway. What's important in life? Let's go back to that beautiful Packard car. That car is a vintage 1935 Packard. This is what the elite were riding in. This car was built right around the time I was born. It's ancient. It's ancient, let's put it that way. This is the car that the elite were riding in when I was born. It's not the Model T or the Model A Ford. It's a Packard touring car. This is right up there with the Cadillacs and the Lincolns and the Duesenbergs. Beautiful car. Very fine car to ride in, very fine car for the time. Now, my family couldn't afford a car like this. In fact, I was born right in the middle of the Great Depression. My mother and father, a young couple in their early 20s. My father was unemployed. They were living with my grandmother in a four square brick house in the south side of Chicago. I was born. My father was eking out a living by working with the WPA program. Most of you younger people don't understand what that was. That was a federally funded program that used tax money to hire unemployed individuals to go around the parks and the other public communities and improve them. We had some vastly improved facilities after the Great Depression because of these kind of programs. So my father was eking out a living in the WPA. I can remember my father and my mother sitting down at the dining room table or the kitchen table. We didn't have a dining room, it was kitchen table. Sitting down at the kitchen table and counting out the few bits of change they had so they could go out and do a little shopping. And it was a hard time. It was a hard time. In fact, we never had much as I grew up. My father worked hard, times were hard. He did some self-training, some self-education. He's worked, he became a fairly good electrician, and during the Second World War he was working with a plant, the General Motor plant that was building submarine motors. He was working as some electrical maintenance there. But his goal was always to be a farmer, so as soon as he had saved enough money up, he quit his job and we bought a little 80-acre farm and on a sand hill in northern Indiana, and we eked out a living on that. We never had much stuff when I grew up. We didn't know what stuff was. We didn't need stuff. We grew our vegetables, we grew our meat. We were self-sufficient, very much so. And I came away with a valuable lesson from this. The lesson I learned is that stuff is not important. You don't need all this stuff that you spend money on. What are you going to do with it? It just gets in the way most of the time. So stuff is not important. Well, if stuff is not important, what is? There must be something important to your life. What's worth living for otherwise? Well, I thought about that for a while, and I said, I'm going to sit down and list the 5 things I feel most important in my life. You should do that too. Make a list of your 5 most important things. You'll find that it won't exactly match mine, but you'll find that it's got some of the same things I have in it, I bet. Anyway, here's my list. The first thing on my list is family and friends. Family and friends. You need someone to share your life with, someone to love, someone to just sit down with over coffee and talk about problems, talk about successes, talk about the good and the bad. You need someone who is there when they're needed, someone you can trust. So the first thing I put on my list is family and friends being one of the most important things. Next, I started thinking about myself, and I said, you need to maintain respect and integrity. It's important to live up to your own self-expectations, or you won't feel good about yourself at all, and you'll have a miserable life. So gain the respect of yourself, gain the respect of those around you, maintain your integrity. How do you do that? Well, you need to think about things like honesty. Are you honest in your dealings? Are you honest in your relationships? Do you keep your words? When you tell someone you'll be there at 9 o'clock, are you there at 9 o'clock? Or close to 9 o'clock anyway? Do you keep your vows? You made some vows during your life. Do you keep them? They're important. Can you still seal a deal with a handshake? Your word should be strong enough that if you say you'll do something and handshake it over it, you'll do it. What I'm saying is live the golden rule. Live the golden rule. Gain respect. You can't buy respect. You can't. It's not something you are born with. You can't buy it. It's something you must earn. So go out there and live a life that let others look up to you. Third thing on my list is knowledge and wisdom. You know, in many respects, you are what you know. What you know and how you use it will shape your life and what you become and what you do with your life. So learn as much as you can about as many things as you can. I'm still learning. I'm still learning today. Never stop learning. But take what you've learned and use it wisely. Don't just have a lot of book learning that you can just spout facts and don't amount to anything. Take what you learn and use it wisely. Okay. Number 4 on my list, be considerate of others. There are other people out there that you know that need help. There are other people out there you know that need guidance. Be considerate. There are other people that need special considerations because they're not as honest or not as trustworthy as you, but keep that in mind. Be considerate of others. If you're familiar with the Bible at all, the book of James says pure religion is caring for the widows and the orphans. In other words, do those things that those who cannot help themselves need. Help those who cannot help themselves. There's always someone out there, someone that can truly use help in one way or another. When you find them, help wherever you can. My wife Judy and I, we've taken several different individuals under our wings over the years, and some of these things have turned out good, some have turned out bad, but we've tried to help in as many ways as we can. You should do that too. Be considerate of others. And then finally on my list, I have faith and belief. Everyone needs a foundation to build his life on. Something that'll keep you on the right path. Something that you can trust in. Something that will guide you and direct you. This is where your faith and beliefs come in. I'm not going to tell you how to go about this or what to believe. That's up to you. If you ask me, I'll tell you what I believe, but I'm not going to try to push my ideas onto you. You need to develop your own ideas, work it out for yourself, but do take the time to work it out, because you need that foundation under you to keep your life going in the right direction. Okay, there's other things I could add to that list, I'm sure, and there's other things that you have on your list. But the important thing to remember here is that true value is not a collection of the stuff that you accumulate throughout your life. And unlike the adage that you hear, it's not the one who has the most in the end that necessarily wins. It's the one that's maintained his values. Well, what makes things worthwhile? What makes life worthwhile? I wrote a poem. It's been several years ago, quite a few years ago now, but it's about true values, and I wanna read it. It says, "These things help make my life worthwhile. The joy of making someone smile. A songbird singing softly up above. Sunset skies on summer eves. The morning sun on autumn leaves. Then golden hours I've spent with those I loved. The freshness of a springtime rain. A violinist's soft refrain. The moonlit winter's beauty, manifold. A chance to help a friend in need or help someone you love succeed. These things I count more valuable than gold." It's Jim Feig, your master photographer, coming to you from Southbridge Street Live. I'll see you next time. So long.